Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Behavioral Corner. It's me again, Steve Martirano, putting up shop, holding fort here on the intersection of everything and everything else. The Behavioral Corner, what we do is we talk about those decisions, those events in our lives, the choices we make, and how all of that conspires to give us the life we have and the way we feel about it, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. It's a podcast, as I tell everybody, that is, with all modesty, about everything, because that's pretty much what affects us. It's all underwritten by our great partners in this endeavor, Retreat Behavioral Health, about which more a little bit later. Well, let's jump right into this because we are not so far removed from the slap heard round the world, which when Will Smith hit Chris Rock, he graphically illustrated, I think, the zeitgeist of a lot of people who are angry. We seem to be in some kind of golden age of anger, which is probably not unusual. Anger is an emotion. What seems to be peaking, though, is people's inability to not control it, but to channel it, to make sure it doesn't result in dangerous and destructive behavior. Because you can be upset at something someone said about your wife, real upset about it. But what you really can't do is walk up and smack somebody in the face. So we're talking about that. We're talking about anger and how to manage it. So what do? You go get somebody who is here on the corner with us, who has over 3 decades now of experience in this field. Arlene Forman is our guest on the Behavioral Corner. Arlene is a certified anger management therapist, and we welcome her to the program. Hi, Arlene.
Hi. Nice to be here. I thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you, and I know you should be very busy, so I won't keep you very long. So let me ask you about that. My premise that this is some kind of golden age of anger. I know everybody says that the age we live in is the craziest of all, but what have you seen over your experience with regard to the prevalence of anger and people's and its destructive? As a destructive force, have you, over 30 years experience, have you seen it get worse?
It's a good question. I don't see it get worse in the session because that's who comes here 30 years ago. People who have issues with anger come. So if I were going to look at a broad view of all the people, then it would only be my feeling when I'm out on the Blue Route and I watch how people drive.
Well, your reaction to, you look, we're all the same. We all exist in the same sort of space. So yeah, you're on the Blue Route. But I don't suspect you've ever been involved in a road rage incident. But now you see more of it. Road rage was not a phenomenon 30 years ago. Not the way it is today. People are on a hair trigger. And I just wondered whether you see that in your office. You're right, though. The people that are coming to you have already recognized they have a problem,
yeah.
or someone told them they had a problem.
Right.
And they're there for help. So let me ask you about them. Who are they and how do they get to you? Under what circumstances are they there? Is it because someone told them they had to go?
The 2 biggest reasons, their wives make them come, or they're leaving, or their boss makes them come, or they're fired. Once in a while, I get somebody who says, I'm sick and tired of my behavior, help me. Once in a while. But mostly that's who comes.
Why do you suppose that it's so hard for people to, it sounds like it's harder for people to recognize that they have anger issues than, maybe some other mood disorder. You say they're there usually under duress. Someone said, get in there and get help. And fewer times do they say, I'm tired of this. Why do you think that is?
Why it's hard to recognize it? It's, when I tell my clients, like, we didn't get a rear view mirror. We don't get to see ourselves.
Huh.
And part of, I'll go into later, but part of the way I work with anger is get out here and have a watcher and take a look at your behavior. Without a watcher, we don't know.
Mhm.
We can't see how we behave. If I'm behaving in an angry way, it's because I feel it's the right thing to do.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. The reason people probably lack self-awareness of their issue with anger is that generally you think you're right.
Right.
And
But people mostly are not self-aware. It's the most important work I do is teaching people to step outside themselves and watch.
And again, it's the issue of anger, which after all is just, in one sense, a garden variety emotion.
Right.
I mean, we are happy, we are sad, we are melancholy. There are a number of ways to feel. Anger is the issue, though, that if there's an abundance of it, you have a problem. I mean, no one goes to see a therapist because they're too happy, right?
No. We can have abundance of anger. It's not about anger. It's about behavior.
So that's where you come. That's where you.
Yeah, I can be really angry at you. That doesn't give me the right to sit here and swear at you and call you names and make you feel bad. That's the problem, not the feeling.
So is it typical for you, and I guess there is no typical session for you, but I guess the last thing you would say to a client or a patient is, oh, you shouldn't be angry, or you shouldn't feel that way, because you want to get past it. Right?
Anger is built into our nervous system. You can't not be angry, but you can decide how you want to act on it. It's all about the behavior.
When you say we're hardwired, so that makes anger a kind of defense mechanism. It's a way we were able to survive. There are things that are supposed to make you angry, correct?
Well, back here is the amygdala, an organ inside the brain that's there for one reason: survival. And anger is an aggressive feeling to attack for survival. A million, 2 million, 5 million years ago in the savannah, we're animals. We're mammals, whether we like it or not. And when we're threatened, the amygdala says, go get them. But, I'm an animal, but I have a prefrontal cortex that says, wait a minute, amygdala, chill out. You're not going to die.
Arlene Forman is our guest. She is a certified anger management therapist. And that's why we're here together, for you to shed some light on that moment between the back of your brain and the front of your brain, right, which most of us are able to navigate. We're able to make that pause, but many, many others just are not. Take us through some of the established techniques you've had success with in getting that pause to work.
There's a relatively new kind of therapy, and it's called ACT, Acceptance Commitment Therapy. And the whole premise of ACT is I step outside myself. I call it my watcher. I step outside my self and I watch my behavior, or my feelings. Let's say anger. I watch the anger. I go inside what's going on in my body, tightness in my chest, my throat is starting to hurt. I see my face tightening up. I'm watching all of that. And I have, and this is an important word, a willingness to sit in it. My body, I can't generate anger feelings if I want to. My body does it. My nervous system does it. And I watch. And if I sit and I'm quiet and I watch, that body, that nervous system quiets down. The very act of pulling outside of myself calms down the nervous system.
How do you help people get to that moment of reflection when you, as you say, you're out here observing rather than reacting? Because it seems to me, my experience, the anger button or the anger trigger is hair. It's a hair trigger. There's not much reflection when the guy cuts you off on the highway and your anger. How do you slow the process down?
With rehearsal. You know, the Soviets, like in the 1950s, they figured out that if you're rehearsing shooting a ball into the basket, but there's no ball and there's no basket, the brain still makes changes just from imagining. And I think they took away some gold medals from that. And they taught us all about the power of rehearsal through imagination. So if I have an issue with anger, every time I see you, it really makes me mad. And I sit quiet and I bring you into my awareness and I allow myself to get angry and I get my watcher out and I sit with it. And when I feel like I'm quiet, we call it defused. When I'm quiet enough, I ask myself, what's really important? Well, what's really important is I want Steve to hang out with me. So then I start acting that way. Mm-hmm. And one time of rehearsal, not going to do it. You know, it takes like around 21 days to make it shift, but I think it's like around 60 days. You got it. It's in your brain.
Interesting. If we could see, I wonder if you agree that if we could see ourselves on tape, videotape, being angry, authentically being angry, whether that would have a shocking effect on us.
Right. Well, that's what the watcher's about. That's exactly right. That if I can't, I don't know. I don't know because I don't have a rear view mirror.
Arlene, is part of the problem with getting a handle on this is that we, the lay people, and I guess maybe some less gifted therapists have the cart before the horse. We keep talking about anger, and miss what we're really talking about is that how do you act when you're mad? It's okay.
That's everything.
Right. That's the key. How do you behave?
The only problem with anger is I shoot myself in the foot. I can sit quiet, steaming at you, and I act appropriate and set myself up for heart disease. So it's not really healthy if I'm doing it a lot.
Yeah.
But other than that, right, everything is about how that's why the therapy is called ACT. Everything is about how I decide to act.
Well, you mentioned the relaxation. You've also mentioned managing the actual physical reaction to being angry, right. Managing it, slow your breath down. Notice your eyes are bulging. You're beginning to perspire. Get a handle on that. In that process, or does this happen at some other point? I know you talk about identifying the root of the anger. In other words, you may think it's the guy that cut you off that has caused this reaction. Maybe there's something else. Is that what you mean by identifying the root?
It's good to know the root, but vital to decide how to act. So if you have a limited amount of time to focus on the behavior. If you got enough time to explore where this is coming from, I read with Will that he grew up. Did you hear that story? He grew up in a home where his father was abusing mother, and he stood by and watched helplessly. He couldn't protect his mother. Well, guess what? There it was on stage, played out.
It's amazing. He chose the single worst moment to deal with that trauma. It's an amazing moment. I know people think we're making too much of it.
My guess, his amygdala fired off, and the prefrontal cortex couldn't stop it.
People are already complaining we're making too much of this, and we're talking. I don't think we've made enough of it. I think it was so spectacularly inappropriate. It was so completely out of character, so unnecessary that given the age we're in, it's time to look at what happened there. Because something else you just said about this, looking for the root, there are instances, you're right, where things are happening so quickly. Your first concern is your behavior. And if you have the luxury of time, you'll look at the root causes. I mean, politics works like that. There is a former president who shall go nameless, who arouses tremendous anger from his detractors. That's a situation where it would be probably more helpful not to say I shouldn't be angry at him, but to find out what it is that's bothering you. Is that what you're saying?
At the moment, no. I'm going to say over and over. At the moment, it doesn't matter what's bothering me. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I have to act on my own value. That's everything. One of the damaging things that Will did is, I'm going to go back into the body. There's something called the polyvagal nervous system, hardwired in us, and it needs to feel safe. And the hall that the Academy Awards was in, and the people that were there all made a contract. If you come here, you'll be safe. So that nervous system could take a back seat and say, well, then I don't have to get the amygdala watching all the time. We're safe here. And then Will said, no, you're not.
Right. What happens when the angry person feels that their anger is a result of an existential threat? In other words, the anger feels like it did thousands and thousands of years ago. The threat is existential. It could destroy me. And then are they justified then in using violence?
I'm going to get my watcher out. And my watcher is going to look and say, is that just a thought? Or is there somebody with a gun pointed to my head? Or is it a play toy? What I've got to watch is what kind of thoughts is my brain generating from the amygdala that have nothing to do with what's real. And that's what I've got the watcher for. This is really dangerous. And I have to do something. And maybe I have to go after your throat if I think I'm going to die. But you know what animals do in that place? They don't go after the throat. They run. They'll attack if they're cornered. But if they have a choice, they run.
Were you, and I don't mention this in any political sense whatsoever, only in the context of what you do for a living. Were you shocked at what happened on January 6th in the United States Capitol? There were a lot of people that were angry.
I was mortified. Absolutely. Mortified.
You saw all of the negative consequences of not being able to handle anger played out large, right?
Right. Or I don't know if they even want it. I wonder if they use the anger to justify their behavior, to take them there. See, there are people that are addicted to anger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like a trip for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, there are people who relish confrontation, think they thrive in that context, and others who just shy away from that kind of thing. Anger is a lot of different things. I know that one of the topics you spend some time talking about I think it was you anyway, but I'm sure you can. There's justifiable anger, there's garden variety anger, and then there's toxic anger.
No, there's just anger.
Okay.
And it's toxic when the behavior violates my own values. It's toxic.
What happens when what happens when one's values are in line with their anger?
You know what? I've never seen it. I saw it once. I had a client come in, and the conflict he had with his wife is he wanted to teach his son retribution on the playground, that if somebody hits you, you hit them back. And he wanted me to support him. And I said, I don't support retribution. Go find a therapist that will help you get better retribution with your kids. Goodbye.
That's good advice. Couple of other things about techniques. You talk about compassion a lot, and empathy. Empathy in particular seems to be in short supply. How do you advise people to build an empathetic attitude?
Here's what I tell them. Forget the empathy, the compassion for the other person. For me, if I have empathy and compassion for you, I secrete love hormones. It heals me. It's nice if you get a benefit too, but it heals me. So that's the main reason that I tell people the healthiest thing you can do for yourself is compassion for yourself and compassion for other people, because anger pumps adrenaline and cortisol. They're killer hormones in excess. Oxytocin is a love hormone. Well, if we get to pick, why not act with a love hormone?
It makes a lot of sense to me. Arlene Forman, let me ask you a couple of other things that might make your job more difficult. We live in a culture now where they have made a commodity of practically everything. And certainly anger is a commodity. There is an anger industry in this country. Now, on the one hand, while there's always been anger and always will be, I don't know that it has been industrialized to the extent it has. Does that make your job more difficult?
No. And the reason it doesn't is because I have a way that's been researched for 20 years that works. So if anybody is saying that, I want to clean up the way I behave with my anger, I say, I'm glad to help you.
Do you advise people, though, that with regard to some of the activities that they're engaged in, some of the programs they watch, the books they read, the people they pay attention to, are exploiting their anger? Do you?
Absolutely. Right. They're using them because people get an adrenaline rush from it. And see, we get back to hormones. The body likes a good shot of adrenaline, even if it'll kill you.
Finally, this is just a question that I think my wife wanted me to ask you, so I will. Does venting help?
Makes it worse.
I said, when she asked, she said, ask her if venting helps. And I went, if venting doesn't help, my head's going to explode. I always thought that you get it off your chest, you blow up, and then.
But the way you do it is you get your watcher out. Mm-hmm. There's a kind of breathing called sky breathing, where you breathe 4 in, 4 pause, 8 out. You do that for a minute or two and the anger dissipates. But for you to stand in front of your wife and scream and yell at her because you're venting your anger and it makes you feel good, it does. And that poor woman now needs a Xanax.
I was using us as a hypothetical.
No, I know.
Arlene, I could talk about this a lot. We're delighted that you joined us. You're not going to run out of clients anytime soon, so we hope we can call upon you in the future. We will be delighted to put your phone number. You do all of your work now virtually, right?
Right. Exactly.
So wherever you're hearing this or watching this podcast, if you want more information, you can contact Arlene. We will have contact numbers for you so you can reach her. We thank her for her time.
My joy.
I'm going to get to work on my watcher as soon as I leave here.
There you go.
I want to thank the rest of you as well for the Behavioral Corner. Don't forget to, look for us on Facebook and all that other stuff, and like us when you feel like it, and let us know what you think of the program. Arlene, thanks again.
My joy. You're welcome.
Everybody take care.
It was fun being here. I enjoyed doing it with you.
Oh, great. Well, we'll do it again real soon. See you guys next time on the corner. Take care. Bye-bye.
Retreat Behavioral Health has proudly been serving the community for over 10 years. Here at Retreat, we believe in the power of connection and quality care. We offer comprehensive, holistic, and compassionate treatment from industry-leading experts. Call 855-802-6600 or visit us at www.retreatbehavioralhealth.com to begin your journey today.
That's it for now. And make us a habit, hanging out at the Behavioral Corner. And when we're not hanging, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Behavioral Corner.